So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So
The courthouse was already tense the moment Sean Diddy Combs entered, but no one expected Justin Bieber to take the floor. This wasn't just another high-profile sentencing. This was the collapse of a man who had spent decades untouchable in the music industry, now forced to face the consequences of years of accusations and damning testimony. The judge was ready to deliver the sentence. Lawyers shuffled their papers, and the cameras outside flashed like lightning. But when Bieber stood up to make a statement, the room shifted. It wasn't just about Diddy's crimes anymore. It was about the entire system that had shielded him, and Bieber's words hit harder than anyone could have anticipated.
What's going on with you guys? Are you working together?
I'm not. I mean, I think that we've become friends in a strange way, you know.
Like Robin Big.
Yeah. It's like exactly.
I'm big and you're Robin.
Yeah. No, I mean, to a lot of us, he's like a little brother. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid to call and ask for advice. He's somebody that, in the industry-wise, the record industry is a strong family, and he's somebody that, we definitely have our arms around, and we want to protect him because he's such genuinely a nice person besides his talent. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the greatest kids that you could ever know.
Justin, Diddy bought his son a Bentley. Maybe, he could buy you one also while you're out.
He got me a Lamborghini.
That's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
Yeah, I know. When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last time.
He had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
Oh, apparently not.
Something different, huh?
No,
you ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 55.
Bieber didn't come in shouting or looking for headlines. He walked up calmly, respectfully, but there was an intensity in his eyes that said this moment wasn't for spectacle, it was for truth. He began by clarifying what many would speculate immediately. He wasn't there to present himself as one of Diddy's direct victims. He wasn't there to make a legal claim. Instead, he was there to speak as someone who had lived dangerously close to the center of Diddy's influence at a very young age. Someone who knew firsthand the manipulation, the intimidation, and the pressure that came with being under Diddy's shadow. In a courtroom packed with lawyers, survivors, and reporters, Bieber decided it was time to say what so many had avoided for years.
Just like it wasn't seminal fluid that Justin Bieber was wiping away from his mouth when he brought his face up from Odell Beckham's groin in a club with Trey Songz on the lookout.
The images are there.
Diddy-fied. Hashtag no Diddy.
Hashtag no Diddy.
Because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious it is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They're not seeing the victim. They're not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They're not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Oh.
Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that.
As he spoke, his voice carried both restraint and pain. He reminded the courtroom of the footage that has haunted him for years. Those videos of a 15-year-old Justin Bieber, barely a teenager, sitting next to Diddy as the mogul bragged about having 48 hours of custody over him. At the time, fans laughed it off as a quirky, playful clip, but in hindsight, it looks like one of the biggest red flags the industry ignored. Bieber admitted that the footage, while brushed aside back then, felt suffocating when he watched it today. It wasn't mentorship, it wasn't guidance, it was power disguised as opportunity, and everyone around him failed to see it, or worse, chose not to see it.
And then you have him come to audition for you, right?
Actually, there were a few people. My wife at the time.
Right.
It also was Perry Reed, L.A. Reid's first wife.
So you were all sitting in a room somewhere?
We were in a room.
Yeah.
And I showed her the video. And Perry says, "Are you crazy? You better get down there and meet this kid right now. He's amazing."
When all these pics come out and all this stuff with Bieber's big penis, are you the mastermind behind that? Say, listen, show off your big penis and people will come to those concerts. Or are you sitting there?
Is that the kind of managing he's doing?
Usher, are you sitting down with him and saying, yeah, show your or leave it in your pants? I mean, do you sit him down and say, look, part of this is PR,
Hey,
man.
by the way, he does have a brain of his own.
Yeah, but were you shocked at the size of his penis?
Hey, listen, he has a mind of his own. What he chose to do with his penis is his prerogative. He's managing that aspect of his life.
But Usher, is somebody...
I have nothing to do with Justin Bieber's private.
Flown out to Atlanta by a manager. His name's Scooter Braun. Flown out to Atlanta just to meet with him and meet different producers and different people. I was actually going to meet Jermaine Dupri at his studio. And who rolls up? Usher in his Range Rover. Yeah, rolls up, and I was like, "Is that who I think it is?" And Scooter was like, "Yeah." And so I ran up to him and I was like, Usher, I love your songs. You want me to sing you one?" And he was like, "Let's just go inside, little buddy. It's cold out." So the politest possible way he could say no, he did. And I was like, wow, he just turned me down. And I was a little disappointed. He had to go into a studio session, so I was like, whatever. And a week later, he actually watched my videos with my manager and was like, "Oh my gosh, why didn't I let him sing?" So flew me back to Atlanta where I got to meet him again, and he wanted to sign me. But there was something else.
Justin Timberlake, right?
Yes, Justin Timberlake also wanted to sign me. It was like kind of like what happened was Justin Timberlake and Usher both went into a ring and boxed it out. And the outcome was Usher. I think it was a TKO.
He continued by describing how vulnerable he had been at that age. Just a kid from Canada with a guitar and a dream, suddenly thrust into a billion-dollar industry with no real understanding of what he was walking into. He talked about how overwhelming it felt to be surrounded by executives, agents, and celebrities all pulling him in different directions, and how Diddy stepped in at the exact moment of his innocence, positioning himself not as a mentor, but as a gatekeeper. Bieber admitted that at 15, he laughed off Diddy's pressure and played along because he didn't know what else to do. But deep down, he knew something was off. His body language told the story he couldn't put into words at the time. And now, standing in court, he finally gave those moments their truth. The most powerful part of Bieber's statement came when he addressed the silence of the industry. He didn't just talk about Diddy, he talked about the executives, the managers, the media figures, and even the fans who brushed off red flags as quirky or funny. He asked the hard question, why did no one step in? Why did no one protect a teenager who was clearly uncomfortable in public interactions with one of the most powerful men in music? Bieber explained that he wasn't the only one. There were others, young stars, who got too close to Diddy, too early, without the protection they deserved. And while Bieber survived, while he grew up and built his own career, others may not have been so lucky.
You know, Justin Bieber had a post the other day on his Instagram talking about all the drugs that he did when he was younger and how much it fucked him up. And now he's got a relationship with the Lord, and he's got, you know, he's married and he's trying to be a normal person. Yeah. But he's struggling with the fact that he was insanely famous when he was a kid.
We had seen these videos of Justin Bieber being handed over to him at age 15. Great job. Great job. For his weekend with Diddy camp. I mean, we don't know, but it certainly looks like Justin Bieber is still suffering the fallout from whatever happened to him as he was coming up the ranks of the music world. It really doesn't seem worth it. I mean, I'd love to hear more from his camp about what's real, because it's clear he's suffering. We just don't know from what. And what mother out there would give her 15-year-old boy over to a grown man who's in the rap industry for a weekend with Diddy camp without other adult supervision?
I gotta feel that experience. I'm coming back. Happy New Year! Woo!
He drew a direct line between his past and his emotional 2020 interview about Billie Eilish, where he broke down crying over his desire to protect her from going through what he went through. Back then, people speculated about what Bieber meant. Today, in this courtroom, his words provided the missing context. He admitted that his tears came from a place of lived experience, of knowing what it feels like to be thrown into the spotlight as a child and to have powerful men chasing you down for their own agendas. Bieber didn't have to spell it out for the courtroom. His presence, his tone, and his courage said it all. The trauma was real and the silence was finally breaking. As Bieber spoke, reporters scribbled furiously, and survivors in the courtroom nodded in quiet solidarity. This wasn't about him trying to steal attention from their cases. He made sure to emphasize that. Instead, he used his platform to validate them, to echo their stories, and to confirm that what they endured lined up with patterns he saw in his own youth. He reminded everyone that Diddy's empire wasn't built on mentorship or creativity alone. It was built on manipulation, control, and silence. Bieber pointed out that the cars, the parties, the extravagant gifts, these weren't just perks of the industry, they were tools Diddy used to lure, impress, and control those around him. He framed them as symbols of power, meant to keep everyone dazzled enough to ignore what was really happening. Bieber then turned his attention to the bigger picture. He called out the system that enabled Diddy, the decades of NDAs, the media cover-ups, the executives who chose profits over protection, and the celebrities who looked away instead of speaking up. He said plainly that fame had been used as a shield for too long, and that power had protected power while the most vulnerable were left exposed. He urged the court not to treat this sentencing as the end of the story, but as the beginning of a reckoning. He challenged the industry to stop normalizing these relationships between children and powerful adults. He told parents watching at home to never let the glitter of fame blind them to the reality of risk. And he left the courtroom with a chilling question. If it wasn't okay for a 15-year-old in any other context, why was it ever okay in Hollywood? The impact of Bieber's words lingered in the silence that followed. Diddy sat there, expression hard to read, but the weight of Bieber's truth was undeniable. Reporters outside would later call it one of the most pivotal moments of the entire case. Survivors described feeling seen. Fans described finally understanding Bieber's struggles over the years, his breakdowns, his erratic behavior, his emotional outbursts. All of it painted a clearer picture once framed against the shadow of Diddy's influence. It wasn't gossip, it wasn't speculation, it was lived experience, spoken out loud in the one place Diddy couldn't control, the courtroom. By the time Bieber finished and stepped back from the podium, the narrative around the sentencing had completely shifted. Diddy's fall was no longer just about the charges in front of him. It was about the decades of unchecked power, the manipulation of vulnerable artists, and the silence of an industry that let him thrive. Bieber's statement crystallized what Candace Owens and others had been saying for months. Diddy's empire wasn't mentorship, it was exploitation, and the world could no longer pretend otherwise. When the judge delivered the sentence, it was just numbers on paper, years, months, conditions of release. But the true sentence had already been delivered in Bieber's words. For the first time, someone who had lived under Diddy's influence as a teenager stood up and told the truth. And that truth will echo far longer than any prison term. Diddy's legacy, once untouchable, is now permanently tainted not just by the law, but by the voices of those who refuse to stay silent any longer.